Welcome to another episode of Relatively Famous, the podcast where I, Chip White, interview relatives of famous people. Vanna White of Wheel of Fortune is my famous relative. She's my sister, and I think that's why I qualify for a podcast. On today's show, it's cool because we have the father of not one, but two NFL Superbowl winners. And the cool thing about that, he's also a Super Bowl winner. They're all three punters in the NFL. Now, speaking of family, because there's three of them, if you're looking for the perfect family vacation, go to visitmyrtlebeach.com and plan your family vacation in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. That's kind of my hometown area. There's 2,000 restaurants. There's golf courses. It's the perfect place year-round. People say, what I like best about it? Wintertime, the beach is kind of empty. You can stroll. Summertime, it's beautiful. It's great ocean for the kids to swim in. And there's always a ton of things to do. And, of course, spring and fall are the best golf times of the season. So go to visitmyrtlebeach.com, plan your family vacation. And today, we're going to be talking with Craig Colquitt, the NFL punter for the Steelers and the Colts, and also the dad of Britton and Dustin Colquitt, NFL Super Bowl winners also. So let's welcome Craig.
Relatively Famous Podcast with Chip White.
Craig, welcome to Relatively Famous.
Chip, thank you very much. Looking forward to talking with you about relevancy.
Yeah, this is kind of fun for me because sometimes, relatives aren't famous or are not even in their own category. But you really, truly, I could be interviewing your sons about you because you were a Super Bowl winner as a punter in the NFL. Give me a little quick rundown on your stats real fast.
My stats, I walked on at the University of Tennessee when I was 20 years old. Came from the other side of the tracks, and life wasn't looking too promising with the crowd I was running with. So I felt like I needed to try an opportunity, and I punted in high school, running back, defensive end, and wrote a letter responding to an ad the University of Tennessee put in the paper for punters. And I said, well, that's what I did. And the manager where I was working said, Craig, you need to respond to this, because he knew my stats. I had a 74-yard punt in high school, and it was a good running back and defensive end, and wrote the letter, gave them my stats. They responded, said I could walk on. So I didn't play in 74, but I did punt 75 through 77, and from a walk-on to a third-round pick to two-time Super Bowl winning with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And punters are tough, too. We wear a cast during podcasts.
That's funny. So I'm just kind of fascinated by the fact you said that there was an ad in the paper.
Oh, yeah.
That's not something that happens all the time. Why did they not recruit? What was the kind of the process of them having an ad in the local paper?
We can conjecture, and it was probably the punter was from Knoxville that I ended up replacing. So I guess they were looking locally or looking in the state of Tennessee. And there were 5 other punters that came in as well during that time that I subsequently beat out. But back then there wasn't social media. The newspaper was it. Letters, everything takes a week to respond to. And so it was legitimate that they put the ad in the paper, because the university was always trying to reach outside of, I guess, just community involvement. But I responded because of my manager. He said, you need to respond to this. And I've tried just recently to see if they had the ad in the archives. In the newspaper it was in, it's no longer in business, and they didn't keep the archives of the Knoxville Journal, it was called.
So you grew up in Knoxville, and did you ever really think or dream that you would play for Tennessee?
Never entered my mind. I was I had scholarship offers from junior colleges. Academically, I'm poor. And so I checked out the junior colleges, and I didn't like what I was seeing. And decided, at 18, I'm done. I'm just going to go to work. Excuse me. And but no, my interesting part of the story is I had a brother who was recruited by the University of Tennessee as a wide receiver at 6'4", 228 pounds, and he ended up going to Middle Tennessee State University. So there was that interest, because also my father was a police officer in Knoxville, and he literally had the job of security for visiting coaches coming into town, and he escorted the famous Bear Bryant into the stadium my 3 years at Tennessee. So we've got pictures of him escorting in. So it's kind of inner blood. Dad was a great athlete in the Knoxville area in his time before World War II. So we were all athletes. So yeah, it'd be a dream playing at Tennessee. And subsequently, it was a great deal because we had to pay for my first year of college. And the second, third, and fourth years were paid by the scholarship. So that was an exciting part. But no, I never would have thought that would have happened. I'd still pinch myself, our story.
Okay. 2025 versus 1974, 75. What was tuition that first year?
Per quarter,
yeah.
$629 a quarter. And that was tough on my parents, $629.
Oh, yeah. I remember that being like when I went to Coastal Carolina, it seemed like a lot, but now I'd be like, oh, that's lunch, your lunch program. Okay. Switch questions really quick. I've only driven through Knoxville, but I'm going to come hang out with you. What's the one place you would really want to take me or show me that is for you is the ultimate personal Knoxville?
Well, that's a great question. I appreciate that. We have a legacy at Tennessee, and for about 20 years, I was with a private company and did very well financially. So I started a foundation at the University of Tennessee called First Family of Fourth Down. And it's part of the Tennessee Fund, which goes to scholarships and that kind of thing. So in perpetuity, the First Family of Fourth Down has donated this money, and the interest pays for scholarship now for several kids. And my sons donated considerably more to open what's now called the Colquitt Atrium. So I would take you at the sports complex where the trophies and the recognition of past players like Peyton Manning, Reggie White, and on and on and on are recognized, and our name is prominent in that lobby area, the Colquitt Atrium. So that's perpetuity, and I'm really excited about that part of our legacy.
Ooh, I'm gonna have to go check that out. I have a friend whose wife is diehard Tennessee grad, and when I told her I had you on, she goes, "You can always count on a Colquitt." That was apparently, I guess, you guys saying in Tennessee.
It's I tell her I appreciate that.
Yeah. All right. So you were a punter. Tell me, I always thought that I could punt pretty good as a kid, but I never pursued it. I ended up going towards the ocean and surfing, and I didn't like getting hurt, by big guys hitting on me. What's it like stepping on the field to punt? I mean, people kind of, I hate to say it, kind of like brush punters off is not important, but like make or break some plays. What's it like stepping on the field, having to kick something that could shift the game for you?
Yeah, to put it in perspective, if you've ever been in a situation where it feels like it's out of body, you almost feel out of control. It's like you're an observer instead of a participant, because my first punt as a University of Tennessee punter was on Saturday night, national TV against Maryland, and I was backed up in the back of the end zone. And seriously, my hands and my feet were numb, cold, stiff. And when the ball was snapped, it just hit my hands, bounced off my hands, hit my face mask, jumped up in the air, and I reached up and grabbed it, and I could sense the guy right on top of me, and I just fell in the end zone for a safety. And that is so vivid in my mind because I thought I was going to lose my job over that one punt, which is possible. So I ran off the sidelines, and everybody was congratulating me for it not being a touchdown. And we ended up winning the game, and I had a good game that day. But to answer the question, and both Dustin and Britton will say that in the beginning, it's out of body. But once muscle memory kicks in and you realize you're an entertainer and you realize it's your job, it becomes a whole different environment.
Other than that, okay, that was college. What is your most memorable NFL punt?
Oakland, Monday Night Football against the Raiders, because I was punting against Ray Guy. Always wanted to out punt Ray, and my claim to fame is I did whenever we played the Raiders. And Monday Night Football, I'm backed up in the back of the end zone. It was the same distance as my high school long distance punt, 74 yards out of the back of the end zone, and it wasn't returned. The returner literally caught it in the air. It was running sideways, and our guys ran him down. So I got a 74 net out of it too, and had a 55-yard average on 6 punts in that game. So Monday Night Football held the record for 15 years, and it was broken by a young man out of New York, 90-yard punt out of the back of the end zone.
Wow, that's quite a punt. When did you, or was there a moment as a kid or whatever, like you realized, wow, I can punt, and this is what I want to do, or is it something you kind of zeroed in on? Was it an accident? You said you were a D end also.
I'm going to call it a God thing because literally one day the coach called us up as a team in high school, and he said the punter's a senior, he's graduating, we need anybody who wants to try out for punter tryout. The entire team tried out. It took forever, but it kept getting narrowed down to me and a few other guys, and finally one of the coaches said, he's hitting the ball good and he's missing it a lot, but there's something going on here. I think he's losing his power. He only takes 2 steps. And the head coach, being the head coach, he said, we're not going to change that 2 steps. He won't get a punt blocked. And I didn't. So that moment was pivotal because now I had more I could contribute to the team. I was also doing kickoffs. So now I'm the punter, and that took a whole lot of pressure off of me. And it was my senior year when somebody said, hey, you could do this in college. But like I said, I didn't walk on at Tennessee till I was 20. I played no college ball until I was 20 years of age.
Do you think that actually kind of helps? Sometimes as I look at these kids, like my son played high school football. He was a DM, not big enough or strong enough to go D1. But do you think, I see these kids go from high school to college and they're so young that, do you think having that extra kind of 2 years helped you some, be a little more focused, a little more appreciative? Does that make sense?
Oh, no question, because the group I was running around with, to give you an example, there were 6 of us, and 4 died in their 40s. They would be in their 60s and 70s today. And I just had a sense that this was going downhill. And literally, when I walked onto University of Tennessee, I didn't go back. I stayed in touch with the guys, but I said, there's something here that's dangerous for me, because I was headed in that direction too. So that was a big pivot for me, because, it's the answer to a prayer, really. I got out of there and I'm 70 years of age. So that was a huge pivot, and it was the right thing to do, because I got around people who took college seriously, even though I didn't have the wherewithal to take complicated academics. I did go into history and I did go into English and art major. So it was very important that I got to college, even though the college kids are partying just as much as, and I partied too, as I did when I was growing up, but it had a direction, if that makes sense.
Yeah. We'll talk about your art major in a minute. 2 Super Bowl rings with the Steelers, right?
Right.
And then you play with the Colts. Was the Steelers like your first choice and you just kind of got drafted? Was there a team that you really wish you would have gotten drafted by, or was it the Steelers your home?
I hated the Steelers. I was a Chicago Bear, Washington Redskin, Dallas Cowboy, Atlanta Falcon guy. That's all my dad watched. That's all I watched. And Dallas, my entire year, Gil Brandt sent me a letter a week saying, looking forward to you being a Dallas Cowboy. So everybody wanted to be a Dallas Cowboy. It was America's team, no question, at that time, just because of its reputation. And that's the Roger Staubach, Tony Dorsett era, way back then. But the day before the draft, or 2 weeks before the draft, Chuck Noll flew to Knoxville and tried me out individually at the stadium, and I did terrible. A week before that, I tried out for the scout Dick Haley for the Steelers, and did really well. So it was a flip to take me in the 3rd round, but Dallas called me the day before the draft, said they were drafting me in the 5th round, and I was excited. Day of the draft, Steelers took me in the 3rd. I was disappointed until the public relations director called me and said, hey, Craig, what do you think about playing with Terry Bradshaw, Jack Lambert, Franco Harris? Went through all of these names, and I hadn't thought of it that way. And I thought, this is probably a good opportunity after all. And we beat Dallas every time it went on the record, except in exhibition season.
Okay, what was it like to get that first ring and have it slip on your finger? Was that what most people say, like a once in a lifetime thing, but obviously for you it's twice. What's that like, getting that big old ring on there?
Big old ring. And it is a big old ring. It's beautiful. It's half the size of my son's rings, but it was big for 30 years. It was out of body. The Super Bowl is an out of body experience because there's reporters coming from every direction that whole week leading up to the game. The week before that, the media all over the country is calling at home, and the interview after interview, and it was really out of body that whole week, and definitely in pregame warm up. And I thank God that my sons went through it too, because I can say, hey guys, this is going to feel different. But at the same time, that brought back a whole lot of memories, and we've been able to talk about that over the years. And because I just kind of forgot a lot of it from when I was out of the NFL until the boys ended up playing themselves in college.
All right, so let's talk about the boys. So did you influence them to be punters, or did you train them, or was it kind of like, I'm going to guide you guys as punters hopefully into Tennessee and then hopefully into the NFL? Or did they just one day say, hey, Dad, I want to be punter also? Or did they say, hey, I really want to be the quarterback?
It's a unique story in itself. I'll start with Britton, the younger. Britton, I had a punting camp, kicking camp for 13 years, and Britton was interested in coming when he turned probably 8. So for 3 or 4 years during that time, I used him as a coach because he could do anything. He was like my father. And he ended up being a really good coach. So he was at my camps, and he ended up playing college football in the 10th, or he played high school football his sophomore year. And he was a wide receiver and a strong safety. And that was hard to watch because of the hits he was taking. I eventually cut that off. Dustin, interestingly enough, walked on his senior year in high school, kind of a similar story to me, walking on because the coach asked me if he could, and I said, hey, there's no opportunities in soccer, which is what Dustin and Britton both really love and still love till today. But there was no offers. Dustin walked on at kicked his senior year only, never punted a football in his life. We had to teach him how to be ambidextrous. He's left-footed, had to teach him how to hold the football with his left hand. And he wasn't flexible either. I mean, you look pictures of Dustin and Britton on the NFL, they're splitting, hitting the ball. It's wonderful to watch. But Dustin is a unique story. He walked on and ended up third-round draft choice. Didn't get his ring till his 15th year, but being third round was coincidental in being a walk-on, so that was really pretty exciting. But their lives were soccer only. But I think it was the bridge into football that was natural.
So as an NFL Super Bowl winner, your kids pick soccer. Were you kind of like, come on, guys, we got a legacy? Or did you think that they might have had a career in soccer as they were growing, or were they just so?
Yeah, they were very good. I mean, they played in their team. They were all state every year, and one year Britton's team won the nation title in soccer. So they're very good. And Dustin's was a true 440, 540, left-footed, and 6'3". So he was a big soccer player, and he got an offer to Brown University, but I would have to pay the first year, which was making academically and boarding, everything included, was more than I was making a year. So I said, we got to put on soccer. Take your soccer cleats and let's go kick. Let's see if that works. So it worked out.
Okay. So we'll one more question about your sons, and then we're going to go back to you. So I think you said Dustin has a podcast and Britton's coaching now, right? Kind of run me through where they are now post NFL and what kind of conversations you guys have about, let's just use Bruce Springsteen's term, glory days.
The glory days. That's right. Dustin is coaching at the University of Tennessee. He's specialist coach, so he handles punters, place kickers, holders, and they love him over there. He's not considered, you won't find him on the website. They've got him designated, but he's being paid. He's full-time, and that's what Dustin, he's loving it. And Britton is in real estate in the Panhandle in an area called Watercolor. And so his field now is high-end real estate. And between them, they have 9 of my grandkids, 6 of them being boys, and 1 of them, maybe 3 of them look like they'll be punters. But that's their careers for now, coaching and real estate.
Okay, which one has the podcast, and what's the name of his podcast? Dustin
has a podcast with Kansas City News Sports Network, and it's called Hang Time. And Britton's on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Dustin's on all those as well, but neither of them do much posting.
Right. Okay, you said you had an art degree. I noticed behind you, we've talked about your art. Tell me and the viewers about your art, because you're really good.
Well, thank you very much. I put 20 years into a corporation and did well enough to relax after it and focus on my interests. I'm a writer. I do like to paint. And when I'm not wearing this cast for the next 4 months, I bang around with a guitar. So I'm in that creative mode of my life, and hopefully I can sell some of the art. I had a show, or part of a show, at the Super Bowl in New Orleans, and with 3 of my pieces. They didn't sell because probably asking too much. If I was Bradshaw, they would have sold, I guess.
Well, you can never ask too much for art. Where can people find your art?
Okay, I've got my Smokey, if they're University of Tennessee fans, they can go on Little River Art Gallery.com. in Knoxville, Tennessee, and they can have them framed, or they can get the print only and shipped to them. And it's a print. If I can show you this pivot around, I guess I'm going to be able to, don't know how to do it, but it's a print I did of, there it is.
There's
Smoke. And you got to be a University of Tennessee fan if that's your interest. And that's Peyton Manning. That's an interesting story. Peyton, he said his greatest memory at the University of Tennessee was playing, leading the band when they beat the University of Florida in Knoxville. So my motto is God created us to be creative. So that's where I am now, creative.
Wait, you got to get some prints and have Peyton sign those.
Oh, that's next. He asked, I sent a copy of it to Britton. He said, "What are you going to do with it?" He asked Britton. I said, "I'm going to make money off of it, but I need you to sign it."
There you go. That is true, man.
Yeah.
The university, and I've gotten to be friends with David Keith. Now he's always on the sidelines. What's it like when you go back now? Or do all three boys go? Do you guys all go to the game sometime at the same time? What's it like when the three of you guys step onto the field at the University of Tennessee?
That's a good question too. It's the great thing since, let's see who started it. Coach Jeremy Pruitt started Butch Jones started bringing alumni back and built it up. Jeremy Pruitt built it up even more, and now with Josh Heupel, the alumni players are a big deal, and the sidelines are filled with former players that want to come to the game and be on the sidelines pregame. So we go down there. Dustin's there every game. His whole family of 5 kids goes every game. Britton comes in once a year, so we have family day pictures at the stadium. So that's a great time just to be down there and look at this towering building that wraps all around you. Even at that time, there's almost 100,000 people in the stadium. So it's a great experience to be back in that and see former players, some that just finished and some that are, older than me coming to the game. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So I kind of love asking this question. For years, I'm sure that Britton and Dustin had to deal with the fact that, oh, you're Craig's kids. Now, life's changed a little bit. How do you deal with, oh, you're Britton and Dustin's dad?
Yeah. It's funny. People try to remember things about me, and they got to be in their 50s and 60s to remember me, as kids even. And but it does go that way. They'll say, well, wait a minute now, aren't you Dustin and Britton's father? Yeah. And, so it becomes a whole different conversation because now I'm seeing, kids that tell me their grandfather loved watching you play football. And then these kids that are saying that, like in my fan mail even, they've become really big fans of Dustin and Britton because they watched them play. So I really enjoy that part of it because you can't make it up. I mean, that 3 of us played there, punters, and played in the Super Bowls. And but to answer your question, yes, they were healthy. They're still healthy. And to hear people talk about them in a great way, a good way, is wonderful.
Dang, I had a question in my mind. All of a sudden I went blank on it. What do you think is the one thing that people underestimate a punter for? I mean, I think a lot of people just think, oh, they're just a necessity, but they're not valuable to a point. Do you think people are learning more? Do you think Dustin and Britton have helped that? The fact you guys all 3 have Super Bowl rings. What's your take on the public perception of a punter?
The general perception is you're not actually a player. And it's not watched very much. I mean, if you watch a game or be down on the sidelines during a game, it typically gets quiet when the punter's about to punt. And both sides of the normal fan base the competitor doesn't want to see a good punt, but people enjoy watching somebody that can hit a football, like that. It's kind of exhilarating and and uplifting in that regard. But I think the majority of people, excuse me, think that we probably should be taken out of the game, not part of the game, an expense of the game. But if you're a defensive-minded individual, the punter's critical because of flip of the field or shanking.
Can you, or did you guys do punters really, like, is it crucial? Like, okay, we're here. I really need to get the ball to the edge of the out of bounds line, so it's going to bounce out. Or I really need to did you really try to pinpoint where you were going to punt, or is it just let's just hope, see where it goes?
I got a funny story to tell you how critical that is, to be able to put it to the sidelines. Johnny Majors was my coach my senior year at the University of Tennessee. And when he came back to Knoxville from the University of Pitt after winning the national championship, it was Johnny comes marching home. And lucky for me, Majors was a punter at the University of Tennessee. In 55, I think he was runner-up for the Heisman Trophy, even behind Paul Hornung. But when he came in, we were spending 2 sessions a week for 45 minutes on specialty teams. I never experienced that. And in one of the practices, I was supposed to be kicking to the right, and my ball went way off to the left. So it interfered with the coverage. And I hear a loud voice and a whack on my butt that burned all through my body. And it's Majors got in my face. He said, "Which way were you kicking the ball?" And I said to the right. And he said, "Which way did it go?" And I said to the left. And he got in my face. He said, "Well, kick the ball the direction it's supposed to go." Well, like I said, I was defensive ends. I was running back, so I was kind of hard-headed. I was used to coaches yelling at me, and that changed my life because all of a sudden I started focusing totally on directional punting. And the Steelers at that time will tell you there's 3 reasons they drafted me is because I was a 2-step punter, didn't have a punt blocked. I punted in front of 78,000 people at that time, and I was a directional punter. And Chuck Noll really loved that because he wanted the ball outside the numbers every time. And that's all I ever did. If I caught it, I was headed left or I was headed right. And that was designated punter. I wasn't a big guy, 6'1", 182 pounds. The bigger guys today can, really float the ball. My max hang time, I did have a 5 second, but I was probably more 4'4", 4'7" when I really caught it, 4'8". So the directional punting was critical because you hit the ball on the left side of the field, my left side of the field, the returner's got to come straight up or run out deeper into the field. So even today, the guys are trying to be more effective at that, but directional punting limits what the return guy can do.
Okay, hardest hit you ever took?
Oh, that's really easy. Billy White Shoes Johnson, and he was a return guy for the Houston Oilers, Atlanta Falcons, and this is what's funny. He's 5'8", 165 pounds. And people always ask, I guess you got hard hit from the big guys. And I said, no, I could outrun the big guys. Billy White Shoes Johnson returned a 60-yard punt on me, and I was the last point of contact. And I knew from the defensive end that you look at their hips. Where their hips are going, that's where they're going. And I just stared at his hips, and at the last few steps, he went full 4-3, which that's what he's clocked, and hit me face to face and buckled my back, buckled my knees, and landed on top of me. And I've got my eyes closed. I'm going, am I still alive? I mean, that was hard. And I looked up, and he's standing above me, and he said, "Good tackle." Reaches out to pull me up. And I said, "Man, I didn't tackle you. I just got in the way." But that was a truck. He hit me like a truck. At that speed, that size, that's 400 pounds he hit me. I still feel it today.
Yeah. I was talking about the sizes. My son, when he played senior year, he was 235. He's like 6'2", DN. And his grandfather John Crawford played for SMU in the 50s, and he would talk about, he goes, look, in the 50s, our biggest guys were 200, maybe 220.
Oh, yeah.
Now you got high school players here. It's just a whole different game.
Yep.
And I remember talking to my son going, son, why don't you walk on? Why don't you try playing for South Carolina? He goes, Dad, you see that guy? I said, you can take him. He goes, no, that dude's 6'5" and 280. I went, that guy? He goes, yeah, that guy. So
they just watch you.
yeah. All right. Last question. What is the question I didn't ask, or what is it you really want people to know that we didn't talk about?
Easily, I'm a born-again Christian, and the experience in the Coliseum, might as well call it what it is, modern-day gladiators, is you really need to have a strong spiritual side of you, even to deal with life, no matter if you play. But there's something about the field that brings out the spirituality in a player. And I'm very fortunate to see my sons, they're always pointing up that they have a different way of looking at life. And we went through 4 years of, won't get into the politics the past 4 years, but today it seems like there's a green light going on to reach out with that platform about your spirituality, your faith. And that's a tremendous opportunity. And today, I get to speak. I'm part of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Dustin actually was the host for our banquet this past Tuesday. Coach Fulmer spoke. So being able to give back to the community using that platform is the greatest gift of the entire package that we bring to the table.
Well, Craig, it's been a pleasure having you on. If you're interested in his artwork, we'll have some down in the comment section on our website. That's relativelyfamous.net. You can see some of his work. He's told you where you can find some. Craig, great stories, man. I'm a huge fan now. I hate to say I'm not a Tennessee fan as much as a Gamecock fan, but I'm leaning now.
Yeah, well, they're always good in football and basketball, so it's I get it.
Yeah, you may not see me wearing orange, but I'm getting close.
Yeah, well, would you come up here wear orange? Because when I was living in Middle Tennessee, and for 15 years, hardly anybody's wearing orange. When Coach Josh Heupel came along, everything's orange. I mean, it's really fun. It's demoralizing to the Bama fans.
There you go. So when the Gamecocks play Tennessee maybe this year or in the coming season, I'm going to get my Tennessee fan, Mikie, and her husband, Greg, and we're going to come to a game in Tennessee, and I'm going to look you up.
We're going to do it. We'll play some golf. We'll get to see East Tennessee.
I'm a great golfer if you like playing in the woods and in the water and in the sand traps.
I love being out there. I don't care. But it'll be June before I can do it anyway. So
that's all right. Well, Craig, thank you so much for your time. Tell Dustin and Britton thanks for sharing their dad with us, and we'll see you soon.
Chip, thanks very much. I appreciate it. Have a good day.
Man, I super enjoyed talking with Craig today. I learned so much about football and about punting. He's just such a super nice guy. I want to thank you, the fans, for listening, watching, whatever you do. Subscribe, like, share our posts, share our episodes. That would be awesome. If you're looking for the perfect vacation, I think you should check out visitmyrtlebeach.com. Go back to my hometown area, go to the beach, play some golf. You heard Craig talking about playing golf. And bring the family. It's a very family-friendly neighborhood. The beach is awesome for kids, restaurants, tons of entertainment. That's visitmyrtlebeach.com. Go to visitmyrtlebeach.com. And we're always looking for guests. If you happen to be related to someone famous or know someone that's related to someone famous, reach out to me at podcastrelativelyfamous@gmail.com. Let's see if we can't get you on as a guest. Again, I want to thank Nelco Media, our partners, Nelco Comics for the amazing location. If you're looking for that specific comic book, check them out. They might have it. They've got a boatload of comics. And again, thanks, visitmyrtlebeach.com. And Craig, thank you for being a guest today.
You've been listening to Relatively Famous with Chip White. Please like and subscribe to Relatively Famous with Chip White.